Right, we're live.
Indeed, we are. Greetings from Sao Paulo, and you are in, of course. How cold is it in London at the moment?
I think today's a bit better. It's been a little bit chilly the last few days. Today's a bit better, I think.
A little bit chilly. Big smoke.
Yeah. Proper normal.
So today's topic: why women can smell desperation instantly and how to remove it. Why neediness is the killer of all things good with dating. Do we need to discuss to even tell people what neediness is, or do you think they can assume a definition from, or desperation?
Desperation. Well, I guess they can assume a definition, but I suppose it's just signaling to her that you have no other option. You can't. You desperately need. You're not supposed to use the word when you're defining it, are you? That you've got this intense fixation on making this thing work because you can't conceive of life without it working out in your favor. And that just seems very hungry, very unattractive and unappealing to women.
Yes. The AI edition or definition they put is desperation of dating is an intense anxiety-driven urgency to find a partner, often stemming from fear of being alone or a feeling of personal incompleteness. It manifests as a need for a relationship to feel worthy, leading to sacrificed boundaries, ignored red flags, and overeager behavior that can drive potential partners away. And just the full party line. I mean, I've definitely gone through periods of kind of driven to approach from a position of desperation because I was so unhappy with just my baseline of just sitting normally in my everyday life because I hadn't really figured out who I really was and what I wanted from life. I wasn't living an interesting reality. So there were definitely periods of my time where I was just like, okay, I'll use women to plug that hole. And I'll relax to go out and day game. And to a degree it worked because I could kind of bluff the fact that I wasn't that desperate. But deep inside, I was craving human contact. So
and also, definitely, I have as well. And I mean, there was a period in most of my life throughout my entire 20s and 30s when I was just completely driven solely by that because I was getting validation from it. It gave my life, literally, it's pathetic to say, but it gave my life meaning. And then if I thought there was going to be a dry spell coming up, I would be driven even more to make something happen because it was like, oh my God, if there's a dry spell, it means this about me and that, you know?
Well, the irony is you got obviously quite a lot of success because you were so driven to not be alone.
Yeah. Well, that's the flip side of it.
Yeah, so there is a flip side, but you don't want that behavior to be. Ideally, you want to be able to be driven to pursuit of excellence with this stuff without being needy.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. But I think the reality is most guys get in because they are quite desperate, and so that is fuel to use to level up.
Yeah, I think it's fuel to use, but it's like trying to think of a good analogy. It's like having some military grade weapon. It's like yes, it can be useful in the right hands, but it can also blow up in your face if you don't handle it.
I think where it really falls down is where the neediness is converted. You haven't really fixed it, so it's converted into people you're seeing. Because then you're needy for the relationship. Women can just sense you're slightly too eager to cuddle up to them. You're slightly too quick to return them a message, and it's kind of a state that everything's filtered through. Yeah. I remember Mark Manson talking about it in his book Models when he used to be a dating coach back in the day, and he said everything is filtered through. Is the guy non-needy or needy? And
did he? I forget that part. Does he make it that explicit then?
Yeah, that was the very start of the book. He goes, every single behavior you ever do is going to be filtered through needy or non-needy from that base. Women can just sense it from the guy who just gets it versus the guy who is not going to get it.
That's interesting, and I actually agree with that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of this is, this was something I had to learn, actually, intellectually, because when I started to learn about this stuff, I realized that some of my behaviors, even if I wasn't actually that needy around that particular woman, some of the behaviors were looking like that. And that's
exactly it. It's a bit like a driving test where if she could you have to show her, especially if you're coming from a needy past, that you're not needy. So that was, for example, why after the first date, I've never meshed the girl for 48 hours. Always wait because I didn't want to be too lustful, and her interpret that as, oh, this needy motherfucker.
I do remember, I mean, I don't remember it fully because I was drunk, but I do remember one occasion when it showed some extreme neediness that woke my flatmates up because I was living in this shared flat, really hammered, and this I can't remember what happened. I think we'd had a party or something like that, and I was talking to this girl, and I think she was basically brushing me off. She was sort of saying, "Oh, we could meet up at some point, but I don't know when." And I was on the top of the staircase going, "But when, Sheila? When?" And the next morning, one of the guys that I live with, was like, "Oh, but when? But when?" That's
brilliant. And she was slowly walking towards the door and shut the door.
Yeah. Like, no. I was like, "No, but when?" I mean, don't do that.
I think a great stream to do will probably be our most spectacular failures with dating, and we can go into kind of just terrible things we've done to win women back in the past.
Because I mean, look,
terrible things.
Yeah, because I mean, we've made all of the mistakes, and it's not like, I mean, we could still make mistakes now, but nobody's perfect. But I think there are certain things I just wouldn't do now. And one of the issues we've got is we've got clients who are older, like we've got clients who are 40, 50, and they're making those mistakes that we probably made in our early 20s. And I guess it's because they just haven't experienced as much, or they haven't learned. I'm not sure, but obviously we have to correct those in them.
Yeah, and you make a key point there. We're not pretending we haven't fucked it up spectacularly. I know that I fucked up a lot of situations more than most guys have had dates, but that's how I've learned to not fuck it up in the future, because it's simply a feedback loop from reality. You act, reality tells you what's up, and you adjust your behaviour. And I don't pretend to have not fucked things up spectacularly.
Yeah.
Years, but I've managed to adjust to a degree, so I'm more calibrated than the average person who never tries.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So we have, as usual, a list of points we've come up with, and we will be going off on these. If you have any particular desperation stories that you can now laugh about, because every awkward story, in my opinion, whether it's day game, dating, texting, social, plus time equals funny story. So if you've got any funny stories in the comments or just little anecdotes, please share them. Remember, you're anonymous. You're not like us, where you've ruined your life by putting your face online. So your screen name, eats cookies at night, is not going to reveal your true identity. You are so you can post little anonymous comments if you do have anything needy or funny in the neediness archives or the desperation archives. Point number one: desperation equals outcome dependence. Women aren't smelling neediness; they're detecting emotional attachment to a result. You want this date to work. You want her approval. You want reassurance you're desirable. That collapses your frame. Attraction dies the moment she feels she's your emotional regulator. The fix is detach from outcomes, not intellectually, but behaviorally. Your nervous system must genuinely not care if she stays or leaves. So Chateau Artiste, we're a big fan of his website back in the day. I don't know if he still writes, does he?
No, I don't think he has for a long time.
But he had some amazing articles, and he described this ideal alpha male as this aloof kind of, he called it the aloof alpha male, and his summary was, I don't care if she comes, stays, prays, or leaves. I'm always just kind of slightly laconic, slightly self-amused. Imagine Daniel Craig's James Bond.
Yeah.
That's kind of like, he walks in, his girlfriend's like making out with the dude on the couch. He kind of just says a one line, puts his coat around, goes, she's your problem now, walks out completely unaffected. Yeah. And that's kind of where you want to get to with this kind of vibe, where you just, women will add value to your life, but they are not your entire life. And there's always another one around the corner. I think that's the mentality you want, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like the bus to Kentish Town. There's always another one. There's always another one around the corner.
What, fag butts on the floor and stuff as well.
Yeah.
On the floor. There's always another one coming in.
Yeah.
Any comments on that? I mean, we kind of covered it, didn't we, on the stream the other day, which is this idea of detachment.
Yeah, the only thing that I would say is that how do guys get to that? I guess we'll try and unpack that during this episode. But it's one thing. I mean, the only way I got to the level of detachment I've got now, which is not perfect, but it's pretty detached, is I think by getting older and also having a load of experiences. But is there a way to fast track that?
I don't think there is. I think you have to train your nervous system. Your nervous system doesn't respond to your thoughts or your wishes. It responds to what is actually happening in reality multiple times. Yeah. So when you have, guys will always try and pin a number down, like, how many birds should I sleep with to prove I'm good at this? Honestly, from cold approach, it's got to be a minimum of 50. Really, it's got to be close to 100, in my opinion, because you don't really know even what you like in women, and you definitely don't know how to date them and really spend time with them until you've gone on lots of dates and fucked it up. Yeah, and I think with 100 guys, see, with 100 women over not too long a time frame, it is some proof of a repeatable system you've got going of meeting a girl, texting her, getting her out, seducing her. We're not saying you have to sleep with 100, but honestly, I think if you have slept with 100 over not too long a time frame, that gives you some competency on the process.
What about John Anthony with 1,800 or whatever it is?
19,000 hookers and one crumpled note, or many crumpled notes.
Ryan Stone said something quite funny once. He said, if it takes you 1,900 to figure out women, then you're probably low IQ.
True. Very true. Is he the one that looked a bit like who's in the Navy back in the day?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, quite a good vibe.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
So yeah, any other points on that, or should we move swiftly on?
No, we can move on, I think, to the next one.
But basically, the summary for that is how do you get to that? You have to just do the reps. You have to fail with a lot of women. You have to get success. That's it. And the way to shortcut that, of course, is get feedback on what you're doing.
I mean, I would just add, I mean, I was very invested in these things when in again, 20s and 30s. I would go on a date and I would turn up on the date and I was genuinely really invested in whether this moved forward or not. And that must have leaked through to some extent in the way I was coming across. Now, as it was, I still had my successes and everything else. But I think now it really has flipped. So we've joked about this loads of times, but I almost hope the girl's going to flake and then go on the date. And it's like, yeah, okay, this is cool, but I genuinely don't care if she comes home with me, if we see each other again, or if we don't, But it's taken a very long time to get to that place.
Do you feel that's maybe because you didn't this idea of we only vibe with 1 out of 20? Because I remember there was one girl recently in Warsaw, and you were like, it was almost like the spark had been awakened in you, because you were like, fuck, I've forgotten how good it felt to be with a girl I genuinely really clicked with straight away.
That's true.
I'd argue we only probably click with 1 in 10, 15, 20 women, like really click, where it's just instant chemistry and vibe. But no, I get the point.
Yeah.
Point number 2. Desperation is a power inversion. Attraction requires polarity. Desperation says you have more power over me than I have over myself. Women are wired to relax around men who are self-contained, internally resourced, not seeking permission to feel good. Fix. Become the source of your own emotional stability. If she disappeared mid-date, your state shouldn't change. So yeah, this idea of training this emotional home, we always talk about calm, relaxed, but self-amused and playful. Life is a fun game. Yeah, she could join for a bit, but at some stage, if she fucks off, whatever, I'm still having fun. That's the mentality. Not, oh, there's a hot girl here, let me suddenly turn on the fun and turn it on for her so I can capture her into my kingdom so I can never be lonely again.
Yeah.
So there's so many clients back in the day in London where they're like, I just want to get, I'd sit down and try and map out their life and be like, what else is missing apart from the dating? And they'd be like, oh, don't worry about that. I work in a really boring 9 to 5, but forget all that. I'm going to get the day game thing sorted first, get a hot girl, and then I'm going to make the rest of my life interesting. And I'm like, no, man, that's not how it works. You're pinning all your hopes on getting some girl into your life to make your life fun. But you don't do anything. You're working a job you fucking hate 90 hours or 80 hours a week. You don't have any fucking pastimes. What did we call it? Not hobbies. Things you're interested in outside of this. You're running around the streets like some sort of weirdo with your Tesco's bag, and some Marks and Spencer's popcorn in it. Like you've got to think about the bigger picture here. Yeah. Women are one strand, a very important strand, but they're not going to save you. And
no, absolutely not. And we've touched on this. We've touched on this before, haven't we? I mean, if you think the end game is a relationship and then I'm going to be happy and that's going to be it, then you're in for a rude awakening.
Well, that's literally how women think. They're going to find their knight in shining armor. It's like a reciprocal version of that for a man.
It is.
It's not correct. That's not.
Interestingly, I did a poll on my Instagram actually, and I'm not sure how many people responded, so it's probably not statistically robust, but 76% said that they wanted to get married or be in a long-term relationship. And then one of the options was just dating around perpetually. And that was about 23%. So the vast majority of guys, which I've always suspected anyway, who comes into this, actually really what they're looking for is a relationship. So contrary to people's beliefs out there that, it's all about, becoming this crazy sex monster. It's actually not. Actually, most guys, really the default is I want to find a nice girlfriend, someone to settle down with, blah, blah, blah.
The ideal, I guess, client journey that we would ideally like to propose is you get good at this stuff. you're dating a few women from a position of strength because you understand how to approach, how to text, how to date, how to seduce. And then, because that's what guys want, they want to cash their chips out, have a family, you do it from a position of strength, not weakness. But what we still see is guys come in, they're like, right, I just want to get this sorted, get that one girl, then I can cash my chips out. They haven't really learned how to deal with women, how to be resilient, how to seduce. They're just trying to shortcut the process. And then 5 years down the line, we get a call from them going, yeah, Stacey dumped me. I'm devastated. And we're like, well, come back to a boot camp. Luckily, we're still alive. We're still going to Bogota. Just all right. Get on the Midnight Express. Over you come. No dramas.
Yeah.
Any relevant comments or questions so far? Specifically on this topic, ideally.
We lost yesterday's live. Was watching it and it got deleted midstream. Yeah, we took it for technical reasons.
We had some turbulence, interference. We had to get rid of.
Oh, the title of the next Troy Francis West End musical, The Bus to Kentish Town. I wonder if Rio's sauna is still there.
You would make a great kind of like dress you up as Fagin or something in Oliver Twist, and you're clicking your heels and kind of cane in one hand, flag in the other.
I love that Instagram account of that guy this guy who wears these outlandish he dresses like a king in the 18th century or something, and he just sort of does those slow motion, like walks down, and then they have these like really, really brutal sentences on it, like, oh, you know, these girls ain't worth nothing or whatever, you know. It's really, really funny. But anyway,
you need to send me that. I haven't seen that.
Yeah, he dresses outrageously, but some of the things are quite funny.
Good stuff. So, guys, if you do have any anecdotes about rejection, desperation, neediness tales from your dating crypt, feel free to share them because they're always good banter for the lads.
Yeah.
Number 3, overinvesting early signals scarcity. So this is how how women can smell desperation, how to remove it. Overinvesting early signals scarcity, replying too fast, over-explaining, trying to lock it in, future tripping. All of it screams, my options are limited. Yes, women don't take to men who act like this is their only shot. The fix is match investment, never exceed it. Let silence exist, let uncertainty breathe. So this is an old school texting principle that I would do, but I would never text faster than the girl. So if the girl takes an hour to respond to me, I would take an hour to respond to her. If she takes a day, I'll take a day. I'm mirroring her.
Yeah.
Time frame in the early, especially in the early salvages after a cold approach. And there's a great Heartiste article again where he goes, look, because guys are always asking us, how should I text women? Then they overcomplicate it. And Heartiste's advice was, imagine you had 5 girls on speed dial, very hot women. Now text the rest of the women like you text. So kind of like quite short, if and when you wouldn't be jumping at the phone, right?
Yeah, exactly. The other tip on that was always look at the proportion of how much you're typing versus how much she's typing. If she's typing like, you know, lol, and then you type a paragraph, and then she, you know, you want it really to be, well, ideally you want to be typing less than her. That's not always possible, but that screams overinvestment as well, doesn't it?
In the age of, this is obviously when we were still using SMS, when we were doing day games. Do you think all of these rules still apply now?
Yeah, I mean, if anything, they probably apply even more because everyone's attention spans are even more fucked than they were. I mean, everyone's ADHD now. You know, nobody can be bothered to read your long, heartfelt paragraph about whatever. I mean, it's just not, you know, it's better to just send memes, to be honest. I mean, that's the only way anybody communicates now is just sending.
I mean, Colombian women basically live on a diet of random stickers. You know, a girl being spanked over the knee and all this sort of like a horny bear with a hard on. I mean, that's basically my entire text game in Latin America. Just random stickers. Yeah. Les likes it as well.
I've got a load of them. It's quite funny. But that Venezuelan girl I know, she just sends those.
Should one mirror someone's? Because I get too carried away with these stupid, ridiculous stickers, and I'm masquerading as this guy in his prime, you know, good looking for, and I'm just sending a host of fucking childish stickers. So should a man mirror the use of a Colombiana stickers? Not send too many, just see if she invests first with that, or do you just boatload them out?
I mean, I use them definitely. I mean, I take your point because you could say, well, hang on a minute, this is going to be the suave James Bond character, and he's sending me a sticker of
Would James Bond, if he was dating Colombianas, be sending stickers? That's the big question.
No, probably not. But I think it's striking that balance. We were talking about this yesterday, actually, a bit, when it's like you've got to sort of talk their language to some extent. You know, these women also, they're younger, right? So they're steeped in this digital culture and stickers, memes, blah, 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 whatever. And I think you can look a little bit of an old fuddy-duddy if you don't at least entertain that to some extent, you know? And also, it's also quite funny as well. And the great thing about sending stickers or sending memes or sending pictures or whatever is that you don't have to then write anything, but you're keeping the contact going, you know. And that's the important thing is not so much what you write; it's the fact that the contact is still going. The vibe is there, you know.
I think a bit of a cheat code that I use is WhatsApp statuses, because you can have some pre-filmed content, so that's going to trigger jealousy. So I've got, you know, random me walking along with random women, not necessarily in dating context, that's going to trigger a kind of a mystery. And you can be very sneaky. There's 15 girls you want to trigger. You can put them into a list and put that status up on WhatsApp, and it's only going to hit their phones. So it's quite a good way of playing the game. So WhatsApp status is underrated, I feel.
Yeah, definitely.
You like that one enough to put back on the screen, did you? The title of the next Troy Francis.
Well, I'll put this other one up that's praising me here. Your short videos have been brilliant. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Good. Well, there you go. Feedback from the universe to...
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Unique 7988 being the universe. Approval seeking is the core smell. So laughing too hard, softening your opinions, agreeing when you don't, avoiding tension. This is the fastest attraction killer. Fix. Risk mild disapproval. Hold your ground calmly. Tension is not danger. It's attraction fuel.
Yeah. So holding tension, that is the key thing.
Lack of approval seeking, right? If you're willing to lose the girl, it all comes down to, are you willing to lose the girl? Because if you are, you can basically just act yourself and not try and sugarcoat it to get a good reaction. You're just like, okay, she's either going to be into it or not. Now, there's a danger here, guys are going to be right. So, all right. So you're just saying, just be myself. Not if just be yourself is you not getting laid at all. You need to still be an elevator version of yourself, but you've got to be able to win. You've got to be able to lose the girl. You can't just be constantly second guessing her behavior based on your reactions. You've got to kind of, how would you frame this? It's a difficult one, isn't it?
Sorry, were we talking like a date or something?
Just in general, I guess. Yeah, I guess if you're seeing a girl or you're on a date, maybe a date. So the approving seeker is the core problem. Laughing too hard, softening your opinions, agreeing when you don't, avoiding tension. Guys are often thinking, right, I want to get this girl back home, so I'm going to be really kind of engaged. Well, you risk watering yourself down.
I think you just got to be aware of this. The first step with this stuff is awareness. It's like understanding it, getting it intellectually, and then once you're aware of it, you will almost automatically start to moderate your behaviors a little bit. You don't, but saying that, you don't want to be in your head. You don't want to be overthinking it. But yeah, I mean, I learned quite early on to be quite deadpan. So I'll be sitting in the and they talk about this a lot, right? So if you meet a girl and you say, "What do you do?" and she says, "Oh, I'm a model," that, I mean, the natural sort of response to that might be to be like, "Oh, wow, oh, really? Oh, that's interesting."
Right.
And actually, a better response is, "Oh, okay. So what else do you do?" You know, not smiling, not now. I make the mistake with this sometimes, and you know, she's like, "Oh, I work in Starbucks." Oh, really? Oh, wow. Okay, that's, you know, not that bad, but you know, it's easy to do because it's a sort of default, because we do this in conversation a lot because we're trying to be polite. But that politeness is in itself people pleasing.
Yes, yes, it is.
So it's just being aware of little things like that, and the laughing too hard is good as well, because she tells a joke, it's a bit lame. You know, it's just a bit cheesy. It's a bit, you're doing it not because you. And she knows this. We can read each other's micro signals so clearly, and she's aware on some level that you don't really think her lame joke is funny. You're just laughing because you want to ingratiate yourself to her, and that then she's thinking, well, hang on a minute, he seems a very eager buyer here, and that.
Well, I don't think any woman in history, no offense to all of women, but has ever said anything that deserves that kind of a laugh, right? So if you're automatically fucked on you if you produce that laugh, that bigger belly laugh with anything a girl says.
I'm trying to think of some counterpoints to that. I'm sure there's been some.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. Number 5, desperation lives in the body, not the words. Women read breathing, pace, stillness, eye contact, voice certainty. You can say all the right lines and still leak neediness. So the fix is slow everything down, speak less, pause longer, occupy space, like you're not in a hurry to be chosen. We do notice this a lot, don't we, with clients, often in Colombia, where they're quite nervous and jacked up, not on chemical assistance, just their nervous system is quite anxious. And unfortunately, you want really calm to be the baseline of all your behavior with women.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. But you want to cultivate that within yourself rather than, I would suggest, using substances and things.
No, 100%. Substances often make it worse if you've got anxiety, don't they?
Yeah, for sure. Most substances do. There's obviously our friends, the benzos, which kind of, but I'm sure most people watching this aren't thinking of that. But yeah, I mean, you need to get this to you need to get it into your nervous system without outside assistance. Because actually, the one thing that people do use is alcohol, right? A lot of people will use drink in order to calm themselves down.
And there is an argument. I mean, we talked about this the other day. There is an argument to say, actually, if you do have one, from my point of view, if you have one drink and the girl has one drink, it does relax you a bit. Outsource yourself to the booze.
Yeah, no, which is fine. I'm not saying don't drink, but at the same time, ideally, you'll be used to this stuff so that you can just do it at any time, any place, and it doesn't have to be relied on.
Again, training the nervous system to be relaxed because you've been in this situation 100 times, so you feel confident. That's it. Yeah. Situational competence, training the nervous system.
You know, there are times. Sometimes you might be in a situation with her, and you have to display that, and it's just not an appropriate time to be drinking. You know. Unless you're a bottom level alcoholic, you know, you're living in a crack house or something.
Yeah, I mean, look, really, if you've passed security in the airport, you know, you haven't made it to the lounge yet, see a cute girl, you're presumably a morning flight, you're presumably not going to, well, actually, you could be hungover from the night before. But yeah, I get your point. There's times and places where you just can't rely on the fact there's a nice drink beside you.
Well, even if you started seeing her, she's come back with you the night before. But then the next day, she's still looking, and you want to see her again. And say you guys go out for brunch or something the next day.
Yeah.
She's going to still be looking at your behavior. Because if you come across as super needy and super weird then that's not going to play well in your favor. And I've been in those situations, right, where I've spent, the girl stayed with me and then maybe we've hung out a bit the next day and stuff. You've got to be prepared in that situation when you're stone cold sober to be effective.
Yes. Have you ever dated a woman who is because you've obviously gone through large periods of sobriety. Have you ever dated a woman who's also been totally sober the entire time during that period?
Well, no, actually. Although, with the exception of a couple of very short-lived things with people who are also in recovery, but that's a bit of a no-no, and that brings its own problems with it. So, in general, no. In general, most women, nearly every woman that I've ever dated or been casual with or anything
has been forced to the drink, hanging around with
you.
No,
not forced, but
they indulge. Yeah. I think I mean, look, it was the reason I got into day game because I was completely reliant on booze, you know, fake ID, British pub culture, age 15, you know, you squiggle your name and like John Smith and you increase your age. I was like 18, I was apparently 46, you know, and it's a very young face and the guys know it's bollocks, but they're just like, yeah, whatever, let's serve this guy. Yeah. And you become basically reliant on booze to talk to women. And definitely university, still the same. You know, so the day game for me was this big hurrah and being like, right, I have to be able to just be comfortable around women without alcohol and actually be not just comfortable. The next stage is actually be able to flirt with them without being totally fucking hammered and try and seduce them without being totally fucked up. And that was a massive learning process in itself for me. But much needed journey I had to go on. And I think definitely with our Glowsphere clients, especially British clients, German, Scandinavian clients, very big boozy cultures, you have to just think, am I basically completely reliant on booze when I'm around women? Because it's not, it may be sustainable, but it's not, it shouldn't be the norm. You need to be more resilient in yourself, I think. Any thoughts?
Because we are talking, we're talking about this as a way to improve your dating life, but it's also a self-improvement thing. Because the more I've found these things to have a knock-on effect in other areas of my life. So if you're used to talking to women and putting yourself under those pressure situations, then other situations, like a work situation, might become easier because of that experience. But if you're doing it when you're hammered, it takes away from the positive benefits that you're going to get from it.
Yeah, yeah. And we'd often have clients coming out and trying to, not often, but sometimes just trying to have a pint before day game and stuff because they want to take the edge. Again, at the very beginning, if you're very only used to night game and meeting girls and having drinks on a Tinder date, fine. But you want to move away from that quite quickly. Yeah, can you imagine the other way around? Women being like, I can only go and hang out with this dude if I'm hammered. I mean, you'd think the woman was a bit of a dud, and yet a lot of men.
I have had that a couple of times. I have had experiences like that a couple of times.
Right,
okay. There was a girl who
always says up to see you leathered. Like that's the only way.
Well, yeah, I mean, can you blame it? But, no, there was a girl I dated years ago in Manchester. I mean, I say date, but we lasted one day. But she rocked up to the date. And she'd done a line of coke and she had a few drinks. She said, "Oh, I just had to before. I was really nervous. I had to before I came." And then there was this other girl, really, really good-looking Belarusian girl, who I met in Berlin in a recovery meeting. And there was a kind of an instant click. And so I asked her out for. I suppose we were going to go for coffee, but we ended up going to this bar. And she says to me, "Can you buy me a vodka? Because I'm not really used to dating without. I normally drink when I go on dates."
Well, you know what? It's slightly reassuring to think some women actually have those kind of issues as well.
So,
it's definitely not the norm, though. And I'd say, unfortunately, the norm for a lot of Anglosphere men is complete reliance on booze when interacting with women. So we want to move away from that. And again, just thinking about what the ideal version of yourself, the 1 in 400 trillion version of yourself, the Greek hero version from the past. Actually, that's a bad example because they were incredibly hedonistic. They probably would have been leathered at all times, but the ultimate version of you. Say again.
And having sex with men.
True. Yeah, because I'm watching an Alexander documentary, Making of a God, it's called on Netflix. Quite good, but there's no concept of gay. So basically any hole's a goal, which we're not recommending unless you're in Thailand with us. And she's called and there's crumpled notes. But try and move away from reliance on booze. I went 9 months where I was like, you know what, I've drunk my whole life. I'm 39. I want to take 9 months off to reset my relationship to booze. And I did. And now I don't drink, but occasionally if I go on a date, I'll have one drink.
Yeah.
And I'm not reliant on it. I've been dating without booze. So
yeah,
it's definitely doable. It's slightly uncomfortable at first. And it's slightly more boring. But you have to make your verbals work harder. You have to be more entertaining, which actually is a great thing to work on your wrist.
Well, what happened for me, because I was, I have been sober throughout that whole period. What happened was that the compulsion towards, I suppose, sex and intimacy shot up as as alcohol was pressed down. And so the dates for me weren't boring, particularly because the end game was so urgent for me,
Yes.
So basically, I really wanted to get laid. So that made it interesting because it was like, I was so engaged with the process,
Yeah.
Which is not healthy either, but that's just how it was.
But somewhat, I think there's a certain beauty to that because I think the problem with involving alcohol, especially for night game, date game, is alcohol fucks up your brain, basically. So how much are you really remembering, like how to improve? Whereas if you're having to stay sober, you are relentlessly trying to improve because you're like, right,
yes,
okay, I can have fun here, I can make it fun, but ultimately I do want to get laid. There's nothing to distract me from that. Next point on the list of women smelling desperation, how to fix it. Men become desperate when dating is their identity. So I've definitely suffered this. And the irony is now, of course, we help guys with this stuff. We're less reliant on it being an identity. I had loads of other stuff going on. But actually, when I was doing this part-time, it was an identity for a long time. It was basically a sex addiction. Running around the streets trying to get laid. Nothing else going on. So men become desperate when dating is their identity. If your sense of worth rises and falls with female response, you're trapped. It's the harsh truth. Women want men moving towards something, not hovering around them. So the fix is build a life that excites you more than any woman. Women plug into that momentum. They don't create it for you. It's super important. Build this dream version of your life, a life you don't want to run away from. You've got things going on. You know people. You travel. You're working on different projects, working on different skill sets. Then women are way more likely to want to come in because they're not mission, and they want to join an interesting man's reality. Les likes to use the analogy of men are island, women are boats. So the island is there, and women will just come in for a bit, stay and leave, or maybe stay for a period of time. But the more attractive the island is, the more likely the boat is to stay.
So women are a bit like the immigrants coming over the
Yes, get them out. Women are immigrants, but it's true. It's like they'll join an interesting man's reality. But a man whose reality is set up purely to get women, if you think about the most guys that have the easiest success for women, what have they done? They've taken a skill set that they love and they become very successful at it. Footballer, musician, rock star. And then as a side effect of that, they have unlimited options with dating. But women who completely just put their entire thing, men who put their entire thing on are women, John Anthony. I mean, it's not attractive. Who the fuck wants to join that? Right? So make your life, imagine women didn't exist, and make your life as interesting, as fun for you as possible, because you're the main character. And then as a side effect of that, you will get options with women. You still need to approach, but women are going to see your life and be wanting to jump into it. Like, you don't need them to save you. So important, because most men get it.
And really, it should bring the desperation down somewhat if you've got other really important stuff going on. You know, I think
and if you're out being social, I think that's super key. If you're out flirting with the world, bantering with people, actually connecting with humans, you just don't give. I've had days where a couple of date flakes, but I'm being really social that day. I'm just mingling with people. I get into a few conversations with other women. I just don't care because I've had that human connection from the day. Whereas if I just sit in my house thinking about it, I massively care.
Well, a classic example, I suppose, is our approach to Night Game that we did, particularly that first time in Theatron, where it really wasn't about trying to pull anybody or bring anybody back. It was just about having a good vibe in there, wasn't it?
Big vibe lifters, and we're kind of this vortex middle like the sun, and everyone just gets dragged in, don't they? Because we don't need anything from anyone. We've actually gone out with the mission of let's make this night as fun as possible for ourselves and people around us. And it was just this ball of energy. It was so fun. And it was also just incredibly fun to be a part of, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. It was
and then, as a side effect, we all got laid anyway.
Yeah.
And we're not focused on it whatsoever.
Yeah. This guy said, I'd probably marry Deborah Meaden. Is she the one on Dragon's Den?
Yes. The old battle axe from Dragon's Den.
She seems like a nice woman. I mean, she's obviously got money. I guess you could do worse.
What did she do for work? How is she rich? There you go.
I can't remember. You know that... what's that guy called Tukun on that show? He owns Hawes and Curtis.
He's the Turkish businessman.
That's right, yeah. He actually owns Hawes and Curtis.
They're quite an annoying panel of people. I find them all quite kind of snobbish.
Well, they have, what's his name on there, don't they, as well? The CEO.
Of John Lewis.
Stephen Bartlett.
I don't mind him as much because he's got a podcast, and I prefer Chris Williamson's one, but at least he's doing something else, providing value in some arena to people. I mean, I've watched this show a few times. There's some interesting guests, you know.
Yeah.
But Dragon's Den as a whole show, I always found it slight. It didn't really draw me in. I just found the panel didn't really click with my nervous system. Just found them all a bit smarmy. And then
it's slightly annoying. It's slightly annoying
themselves, you know. It's just whatever.
Yeah. I also don't know why they. I also don't know why they don't make a counter offer, because the guy comes in and goes, "Oh, I want $3 million for this business." They're like, "Oh no, that's ridiculous." But they never. It's probably against the rules of the show. But why don't they say, "Well, I'll tell you what, I'll give you $1 million." But they don't do that. They will sometimes say they want a bigger percentage, but they never try and drive them down on the amount they're asking.
Right. Did you ever watch the episode, The Americans Dragon's Den, Shark Tank, where Richard Branson was on as a special guest, and he threw a glass of water in Mark Cuban's face because they're arguing?
Did he? I never saw that one.
It's on YouTube. It's quite funny. And then Mark Cuban looks like he's about to hit him, but instead picks up a glass of water and throws it back on him. But the girl presenting, some like Chinese American girl, is just like, Next point on the list is number 7, the real antidote, self-amused attachment. There you go. The keys to the kingdom, if you want it in one line. The real antidote is self-amused attachment. The most attractive trait isn't confidence. It's amused indifference. So a bit like the Chateau Hartis article. If you'd like a link to that, actually message Troy, info at realtroyfrance.com, or me, info at jameshuss.com, send us an email, and I will send you a link to that. But he describes this idea of the catnip alpha male attitude for women is the aloof, laconic alpha who doesn't really care if she's there on the couch, doesn't really care if she leaves, doesn't really care if she's in the bed. He's still having a good time. He's on his mission. He's doing his thing. So the most attractive state isn't confidence. It's amused indifference. You're engaged but not invested. You're present but not attached. That's the sweet spot. So that's it.
Exactly.
One phrase to hold in your head how to act: self-amused indifference. When you stop needing women to validate you, they finally feel safe enough to desire you. Another paradox of dating. When you stop needing women to validate you, they finally feel safe enough to desire you.
Yeah, and I think this is exactly why I messed up a load of relationships or sort of even situationships in my earlier years, in my 20s. And it was all to do with this, really. I can see that now. And actually, I mean, one of the effects of drinking...
Do with what specifically? Being slightly needy, being slightly desperate.
Being too needy. Also, I guess I was all over the place with alcohol. But one of the other problems with alcohol is in me, maybe this isn't the case for everybody, in me, it actually caused me to be more needy in a weird way.
Interesting. Okay.
I know, maybe you think it shouldn't because there's...
I have no inclination. I definitely know that some of the most needy times I've ever had have been after a big night out, lying on the couch the next day, and just incredibly I just want a girl to hug me and tell me, whisper sweet nothing into my ears and tell me it's going to be okay. But after a few drinks on a night out, I wouldn't say I become needier. Were you saying just even after a few drinks, you'd start to become more needy? Maybe
not after a few drinks, but I think the aftermath of it the next day.
The come down, the hangover, straight come down. Yeah, it's hard not to be emotional and kind of lonely, isn't it? For sure.
But there is an element of this, isn't there? Because we talk about drunk dialing, right? Or, people sending drunk messaging and stuff like that. Like, you end up, oh my God, oh, Sheila, what's she doing now? And you're sending her a message and stuff if you're drunk, which you're not going to do if you're sober. I don't know. Anyway, in me, it sort of created a sort of a neediness, which when I stopped, it actually went away to a large part. I was still quite needy. It took longer to train that out of me, but the worst excesses of it were sort of taken out of the picture.
So it is something that you found you did train out of you eventually. You deliberately kind of trained it out.
I was aware of it. I was aware it was when I learned about some of these dynamics. I was then aware of it, and I was aware it was a problem. So yeah, I guess I did intellectually start to train it out. But then it was a question of time and experience.
Time and also experience. Right? Yeah, awareness, time, and experience. Those were the keys.
Yeah,
I think for me, the alcohol thing, it makes me way more impulsive than I already am, which is quite impulsive. So I'm more likely to send a text when I'm hammered, and then regret it the next day. But I don't know if I'm doing it from neediness or just because alcohol removes your inhibitions. I think everything's a fucking good idea.
Yeah. Well, it just takes you on a bit of a roller coaster, doesn't it? Because you probably are more impulsive and all of that when you're on it. But then the next day, I mean, that was why I had such a disaster a while back with a particular woman because. Basically, I was on this bender and I was absolutely destroyed. And then the next day, it's like, oh my God, no. And then, you're trying to pull her back, which was arguably a mistake. So,
did it work? Did it work at the time?
Yeah, it worked. But whether I should have done that is another matter.
I think when you're not sober, the decisions are always going to be slightly distorted, aren't they? I mean, I think the neediest I've ever been is chemical-wise has been after a rave or that kind of a night where everyone's on MD, on ecstasy, because the come down I get from that is just so lonely and depressed on the couch. Anyone, but I've had birds literally roll around and they can just sense I'm in that needy, really off-putting state, and it's actually ended, like you said, it's ended situationships because the girl she stays for a bit, but then she makes her excuses and fucks off because I'm just giving out this incredibly needy energy, and it's just repellent for women to be around.
Yeah.
And it's chemically induced, but it's like I'm not for public consumption during that time. I should really just be locking myself in a way, wanking into a bag of Cheetos. I shouldn't be anywhere near women. It's torpedoed it many a time. So I've learned my lesson.
Other brands of chips are available.
Yeah, we don't even have Cheetos in the UK, actually. So that's a bad example.
I think you can get them.
That's into a bag of kettle chips.
Yeah.
Any questions to run through today?
What about this? Only Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Only date in Wetherspoons. Either walking distance from your place or in a hotel upstairs. Refill coffee, cheap alcohol. Recover psychologically Monday, Thursday. Easy gaming, lads.
I quite like the idea of that. So you can stay in there's a hotel upstairs in some of these Wetherspoons. That's a great logistics point of view.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if Weatherspoon's. I think he's just saying that this is a good strategy. So have a hotel.
Guys that used to come down, and we did it a lot. I mean, I remember in Russia, we went through a large period of staying in hotels with a nice bar, because then if you do a date, you just get the girls to the hotel bar. And if the girl flakes, it's like no big deal because you're sitting in your hotel anyway. So I'm a big fan of making the logistics for dates as easy as possible.
I'm not sure about Weatherspoons, though, to be honest. I mean, like we've had loads of conversations about this. I used to do dates in Weatherspoons years ago because of Tom's influence. Because it was like, no, you don't want to try and impress them. You know, just go to the cheapest, you know, whatever. Right. So I did it, but Weatherspoons are just full of. Well, it's a very mixed bag. Let's say that.
Did it ever work against you, or was it kind of actually fine? Thinking about it,
it was kind of fine, but in retrospect, I don't know if it was really It doesn't really go with the avatar that I was trying to present, and it certainly doesn't now. You know what I mean?
No.
Because if you're trying to present as this worldly, sort of slightly sophisticated older guy, and you're like, all right, love, let's go down the Montague Pike. It's just not a very good look, is it? You know, and then you got
It's hard to beat a nice, dingy, not overly priced, not 5-star hotel basement, but you know, a nice, dingy cocktail bar where you can sit next to the girl. It's a cool atmosphere. There's a few people. It's hard to beat that. And it's just, why wouldn't you go with that? Even if you don't drink, this is the point. We want to create that kind of dark, slightly sexual atmosphere where you're sitting next to the girl. And the way to do that is one of these venues.
What I like the best is it doesn't necessarily mean you're spending a load of money, but I do like those dark loungy places a lot.
Right.
You know, hotel bars and things like that are pretty cool. You know, every city's probably got various spots that tick the boxes.
You want to be sitting next to the girl. It's a very basic thing, but you want to be sitting next to the girl as well. You do not want to be sitting opposite at a table. Just sit next to her. Then you can kind of talk to her hand, but also communicate with the rest of the bar.
I guess it's all right for a couple of quick drinks, but I mean, I keep thinking about the Weatherspoons on Charing Cross Road, and it's really rammed the whole time. You got a load of Japanese students in there. You got some bird doing ketamine in the toilets. You got some bloke with a spider's web tattooed on his forehead. you know, it's really loud. It's a bit leery. It's not exactly setting the most seductive tone, is it?
No, that's a very good point. The only thing sometimes, which has been good from my days dating in London, where I used to go into like a busy pub, would be if you can, there's no chairs available at the bar, so you kind of stand at the bar, and then automatically you're quite close to the girl.
Yeah.
Standing at the bar date is actually not the worst thing, as long as it's not too rowdy, because you can get very close where you can whisper in her ear. It's that intimacy straight away.
Yeah.
Most guys are terrible at physical escalation and escalating the vibe and sexual tension, so you want to make that as easy as possible by sitting next to the girl or being in close to her. You don't want to make it harder because it's already something guys find uncomfortable.
Yes.
And I think guys will often, as a defense mechanism, sit at a table across from the girl because they're not comfortable with the physical intimacy. But if you can't hold sexual tension with her, you're not getting laid. And that makes it really hard. You have to be like this horny octopus reaching across the table to touch her. So these are very small changes, but they completely change the dynamic of the date.
Yeah.
And if you must sit next to her, opposite her on the first date, make sure you move to a second venue where you can sit next to her afterwards.
Yeah. Super important. Do you want to go to the point?
Anything else question-wise or comment-wise?
Well, I think there's quite a few, actually, but, I mean, let's have a look. Going back to the start. I sent my one-itis. I haven't seen for a year. A Happy New Year, forgive me. Yeah, I mean, whatever, man, but it's just I don't know if she replied or not, whatever, but anything like that, if she's now no longer available, unfortunately, it just keeps you in the loop.
Is this one of our clients talking to us from beyond the
Probably,
beyond
yeah,
the
quite possibly. Well, all right, here's one. Veiny member. When a date is
favorite name, yeah.
When a date is clearly dead in the water, do you play it out, call it out, and leave, or call it out and leave?
I wouldn't call it out, but I would look if it's not passing the vibe check because she's not into it or you're not into it or both. There's a real temptation to want to stay and have a few drinks and drink yourself into kind of, let's get this done. But honestly, in my experiences doing that, you always feel slightly dead inside. A really high value man that's protecting his time, thinking about your time being your most valuable asset, because every second that ticks by, every minute that ticks by, every hour that ticks by, you never get back. The high value move is just leave. Just be like, look, it's been lovely to meet you. I've actually got to go. Lovely to meet you. Don't make it weird. Don't say you didn't look like your photos, you fat bitch. Just say, look, it's been a pleasure meeting you, but I've got to run.
Yeah, don't say that.
We're okay with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you got to cut it short, really. I mean, again, this is people pleasing, but my tendency was to maybe stay for 2 drinks, and I think really you've got to cut it after 1 drink. I mean, well, you had a much more brutal strategy though, didn't you? When it was like she turns up in the taxi and you're not feeling it, you just give her a crumpled note and send her on her way.
Yes, I did do that a few times because I'm just like, look, if I'm not attracted to this person, what the fuck is the point?
Which is a very good sort of way of looking at it, because I mean, I that was in Mexico City, and I remember I met somebody from an app, and I then went to meet her, and she wasn't really what I was expecting, but she was a nice girl, and you don't want to be that guy, so I ended up going for a couple of drinks with her, but it's like ultimately it was kind of a waste of time for both of us,
Yeah, how much can you enjoy it knowing that you're not really going to pork her and you're just kind of killing time so it doesn't look rude to leave? That's the problem, isn't it? And it's like, again, a guy that's very on his mission doesn't really care to humour people too much because your time is valuable and you're the main character. I think the wise thing to do is just that this isn't going to work.
Yes.
Thoughts on Coach Red Pill, Gonzalo Lira, and his advice when he was around? I remember he reached out to me very much in the early days on Skype for a live stream. And I hadn't watched any of his content. It was very early days. He was only on like 1,000 subs, and I had a bigger channel. I had like 30,000. So a bit snobbish. I kind of went, no, I'm not going to deal with this clown. And then ironically, his channel actually blew up. I mean, he had a huge subscriber count by the end, didn't he?
Yeah. I don't really know anything about his content, to be honest. All I know is
it was quite souped up, bitter, anti-women rhetoric. A lot of it.
Yeah, and then he flipped into politics, didn't he? And of course, he famously, he went to Ukraine and kind of got ended because of.
Well, they all weirdly, all these kind of Americanized content creators end up weirdly going into politics, like political stuff. I mean, Artiste had amazing game advice back in the day, and then he just went on going on these political rants, and it's just like, can we just keep it to dating?
Yeah.
Bring in politics.
Yeah. So I don't know. I never really got into his content, to be honest.
Bongo McGee beneath that. Is there any way to undo a needy impression, or is that individual girl cooked for all time? You can undo a needy impression. I've had it a few times where I've just been needy or whatever back in the day, and I've met the same girl later. We're talking a few years later. I've really leveled up, and I'm with a hot girl, or she's seen me with a hot girl online, and you can. It's rare, but neediness typically is the killer. It's very hard to recover from it.
But you are then talking about a few years. So if somebody's thinking, "Oh, is there a quick fix for this? What? Let me get my book out. What are the 6 lines I have to say?" That's not going to cut it probably. If
you're putting an individual girl over in this frame anyway, you're automatically going to be needy just the way it's set up because you're prizing her too high. She can feel it straight away.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there's this one as well, which is there social stigma to going on a dating boot camp?
Yeah, I'd say so. If you go and tell your close friends who are not involved in this sort of thing or family, people do judge. I'd say that is true. But if you're smart and you want to get feedback, you come on a training and you just keep it to yourself.
I mean, I can't really. Again, it's almost like we were talking yesterday about the concept of a day game community, which has always seemed a bit bizarre to me. And I also can't understand why people talk to close family and friends about this stuff. Really, I mean, your romantic life, what you're doing about your dating and sex life, shouldn't really be. It's not really fun for all the family, is it? I mean, I've got we've got a guy that we know in common in London.
Yeah,
and he talked to his parents about this, and they used to say, "Oh, go on, do one of your approaches on me. Oh, what's it like? And he's like, "Oh, hi, I just saw you on the Fulham Road. You look great. I'd love to take you for a coffee." And the mum's like, "Oh, wow, that's amazing." I mean, it's like, why are you telling people about this stuff? In saying that, not that it's some deeply shameful thing, because I mean, actually, when we work with guys, either on a boot camp or one-on-one, what we're really doing is, we're obviously working on the social skills, the dating, the lines, and what you're going to say and everything. But there's a much more emphasis on transformation. So it's like, okay, getting your physique in shape, getting your hormones in check, getting your mental attitude in check, right? So we're not, there shouldn't be a stigma, but there probably is. But that's just how people are. But again, why are you even advertising this stuff?
Yeah, I'd keep it to yourself, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly.
I really feel like after about 50 dates, I don't try and do anything at all. Chemistry just happens or not. You can't force it or stop it. Do you agree with that? After a certain period where you can actually just relax into your skin a bit, you sense if there's a vibe quite quickly, don't you? But I
don't entirely agree, because I think it's our job to create the chemistry. And I think if we're talking specifically about dates, our job is, she's just going to sit there like a sack of potatoes, right? And then at the end of it, she'll go, oh yeah, I wasn't feeling the vibe, I wasn't feeling the chemistry. A lot of the time, that's the guy's fault, because he didn't ignite that chemistry. So you can, and I know, because I've been on both sides of the equation with this, a date can definitely go against you if you don't make her feel chemistry. Now, that's not to say that if somebody's completely disinterested in you, you can make them like you, because obviously you can't. But given she's on a date, she's got to be at least open to it. So, yeah, I don't think it's just a case of, oh, well, I'll just rock up and I'm just going to be myself, and if it happens, it happens. Because that's sort of, you're then abdicating your responsibility as the one who is ensuring that the spark happens. Again, it's not that it will always hit, but that is what you're there to do when you go on a date.
Yeah, those are good points. Warren 334, a bit down, says, do you guys still see yourself cold approaching 15 years down the line? I'm asking because I'm in my early 20s and I want to focus on building up my finances first, since I can't afford your services yet. I mean, if it's going to take you 15 years to afford our services, you're probably doing the wrong job. It's a guy called Warren 334.
I like the way it's so specific as well. Have you worked out the business plan that it's literally going to take 15 years?
I would say if it's going to take you 15 years to afford our coaching, then, I mean, we're not talking hundreds of thousands of pounds here. We're talking a boot camp costs £3,797. So, yeah, I think you're in the wrong the one beneath that. Yeah, you're in the wrong line of work if it's going to take you 15 years to
get three grand.
What are you, like a Sierra Leone blood diamond child? I mean, what? Steal one of the diamonds, just sell it off,
Yeah, and also as well, being brutally candid, 15 years, I wouldn't bet on it. Especially for me,
I don't think either of us will be even alive in 15 years.
I'm probably going to be dead in 15 years. So
the other thing to bear in mind is, look, we're big believers in the fact you have to learn socializing at some stage in your life if you want to have a proper social life and dating life. So you're 20, get out and start trying yourself. At least try to be social, because you've got to learn this at some stage. It's better to start young. It's 100% better to start younger.
Yeah. So say he's 22. So he's going to be, by the time the 15 years has elapsed and he's got the shekels together, he's going to be 37. Now, being 37 is fine. You're in your prime, but you will have wasted 15 years not getting to grips with this stuff, when you could have been having an amazing time and meeting amazing people and having some great experiences. So it seems like a bit of a waste. I mean, really, you should front load the getting the social skills sorted out. Really,
if I had my time again, all I'd have done would I'd have addressed this stuff way sooner than I did. I started addressing at age 27, which isn't super late, but it's not super early.
I mean, look, we get guys who come to us when they're 37, when they're 47, when they're 57, and fine, wherever you are, start today. That's great. But I wouldn't say as a life strategy, do you know what? I'm just going to park that until I'm nearly 40. I don't think that's the way to go.
You want to be doing it all. You want to be building your business. You want to be hitting the gym. You want to be sorting out, different areas of your life. How can I build my life into a very valuable, interesting thing I'm living?
Yeah.
But socializing and understanding women is one part of that needs to be relentlessly done from the get-go.
I reckon 15 years' time, I'll be married to my AI robot in a nice little one up, one down.
In which country? Thailand, Japan?
Well, I suppose it doesn't matter because if it's AI, it could be a Wigan.
Wigan, can you imagine? Steve Jabber is your maid. God, that'd be weird.
What, a little like maid's outfit?
Yeah. Hello, guys. I can't do his accent. That kind of northern steak bake accent.
I'm just making a video. I'm just making a new video about Troy. I've made 35 videos.
It was a bizarre thing, wasn't it? He'd make videos about us and then send us an apology email being like, I'm so sorry, lads. Like he's actually had a moment of regret and then just do it again. It's just really unhinged. We've got a comment from Eclipse down the bottom. We're just going to wrap this up now shortly. Do you think Rolo has a positive impact on the Manosphere Red Pill space? So, look, full disclaimer, I don't watch much of Rolo's content anymore, but his book, The Rational Whale, was instrumental in me understanding this stuff, for sure.
Yeah.
You know, it was that whole sexual market value graph where it shows women peaking at 21, men peaking late 30s. That was instrumental. Just basic, like, Manosphere stuff, I guess, or basic Red Pill stuff that I was unaware of. It was hard hitting, definitely the bitter taste of the Red Pill with a lot of his content, but it was foundational for me. It was very, very helpful. And you've obviously been with him for a long time, haven't you, Troy? Personally?
Well, yeah. I mean, I worked with him for quite a long time on Rule Zero. I mean, I don't have a great deal of contact with him now, and I also don't watch his stuff because I don't watch a lot of Manosphere stuff because I think you have to grow out of that. I mean, yeah, his blog actually was really instructive, and then the first book which was really a compilation of the blog stuff, really, with a few extra bits added, was really, yeah, it was eye opening and it taught me a great deal. But I think you have to move on from that stuff. I think
it becomes, like we always talk about, addictive theory, and you're not actually taking action in the real world. So it's a way of not taking action further.
And then you could make criticisms about the fact that he's been married for 30 years or whatever it is, and you know, how much has he really been in the trenches and all that kind of stuff. I think I'd probably give him a pass on that because he clearly really understands the dynamics. But yeah, I mean, the Manosphere, it would take you probably a couple of hours, maybe not even that. Maybe on AI, it would take you, you know, like 20 minutes, 15 minutes to summarize the main points of the Manosphere. And then what are you doing? Because all that happens is it just gets repeated and repeated and repeated.
Yeah, I would say it's in my, if I was going to recommend game resources to people starting out or any stage of their journey, I don't think you can go wrong with The Rational Whale. I really don't. I think every man should read it, actually. It's one of those.
But absolutely. But it's one of those things you've got to be careful because you don't want to tip into anger and you also don't want to tip into not take any action.
And we see that a lot. Actually. That's a really good point because the book does make you angry because it actually reveals the truth of the dating market. And if I know guys that are not taking action, they become very bitter. So luckily, when I read it, I was taking massive action. So I was like, oh, this is a bit of a fucker. Anyway, let me get back out. I want to get laid. Yeah. You know? We've got Mr. Justin appearing, the Dominance Academy. Good day, gentlemen. Good day, Mr. Justin.
Hello.
Help save our walrus for us. He needs a good spanking. Any final?
Would you take a bloke in their 70s on a boot camp or other event to teach? Do you mean as an instructor or as a student? But if you mean as a student, I mean, we've certainly had guys
late
not quite 70, but certainly 60s, yeah. So if there was a guy who was 70, yeah, for sure.
There's quite a big contingent of guys we worked with who are early 60s, who are post-marriage, you know, finally paid off the alimony and want to get amongst it. And obviously Latin America is great for that because it's totally normal to be dating a late 20s or 30-year-old woman in Latin America or Eastern Europe. It's expected, actually. It's weird if you're not, if you're a bloke in 50s, 60s. Any concluding thoughts, Mr. Francis, on this? The attitude guys want to cultivate is amused indifference.
James, will you show us your old man?
Yes. If you email me and send me some crumpled notes via PayPal, I may.
Yeah. Well, the OnlyFans is coming out soon.
If you come in a boot camp, you're more likely to see it in some context.
Yes. Well, yeah, basically, I mean, don't be desperate, really. I mean, because the more, we always say the same thing, the more that you need something, the more it tends to shy away.
Run away.
It's like playing with a cat, isn't it? It's like, you know, when you sit there and you kind of ignore the cat, it comes and sits on your lap. If you're like, oh, blah, 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 like that, it just walks off. It's exactly the same thing in these.
Women are a great, it's a great analogy to see. There's a lot of similarities between a cat's behavior and a woman's behavior. Absolutely agree. If you're not up to your nuts and guts, we'd encourage you to get out of the house and even just flirt with and talk to people because that makes you less needy. And even if you don't have many options on your phone, you've got one or two, you have to just play the game and not act needy. You have to catch yourself and just be like, okay, I've got to play the game a bit, because until she's invested, until you slept with her a few times and she's kind of in your frame and in your world, she doesn't really give a fuck about you. And the chance of coming across needy is high if you don't know what you're doing. And the chance of her running away straight away if she feels that neediness is very high. Yeah. So you have more leeway to fuck it up, basically, to reveal your needy side. As the relationship develops, you have more of a padding, but in the early days, it's quite ruthless. You know?
Indeed. Good stuff. Okay, so you need to get out there, get lots of experience, have a feeling at least that you've got some options, and just start putting less importance on these individual encounters, right? It's like, oh, there's this, oh, Sarah, and if she doesn't like me back, then it's going to be the end of my life. I mean, it isn't, because there's 8 billion people on the planet, right? There's 4 billion women out there. That's quite a lot of women.
Zoom out. I think that's a big thing, isn't it? However much you like this one girl, however much you invest in the situation, zoom out and realize there's always another girl around the corner. And typically, I don't know if women get this as well, but neediness and desperation seems to be a particularly male attribute, I've noticed.
And listen as well, if John Anthony slept with 2,000 of them, I mean, come on. It can't be that hard.
When you put it like that. We will do it again in another live stream. It's been a pleasure, gents. Send us emails as usual. Any questions, comments, info@jamestuss.com or troy@alltroyflorence.com, and we'll see you again soon.
See you later. Bye-bye.